Now, when we first start trying to sell our programs and services on the Skool platform, we tend to get stuck in free. We can't quite bridge the gap, at least not reliably, between free to paid. So in this video, I'm going to break down a number of free to paid strategies that we use in our business, and that I'm also seeing work really well on the Skool platform itself. Now, this is going to be referring to both freemium communities and also two groups. There's obviously things that we can do in two groups that we can't do in freemium communities. So towards the end of the video, I'll talk about the different things that you can do in two groups versus freemium, and obviously both together. So starting with freemium, what we have to understand and what we've learned from using freemium now, at least in the way that it's currently set up on the Skool platform, is that people rarely just upgrade. They don't really tend to upgrade without a clear reason or a push. Now, normally in marketing, when you're selling anything, you need a bit of a push, but we all kind of assumed that with tiers, people would naturally go for the free stuff and then just upgrade on their own to paid. And that happens a little bit, but not as much as we thought it would. There's just not enough urgency. People get too comfortable sitting in free. So this is why we need to actively try to do things and use strategies and methods to actually shift people from free to paid. Now, one of the most obvious ones that people seem to be doing is where we actually just give people part access to a course. So this could be a lighter version of our program where you get the first few steps, or you get the first module, or you get the first part of it, and then you're left wanting more. Now, what you really want to be doing with this between linking to full is that we actually want to make sure that we are getting people a win of some kind. So we are at least giving them value, getting them a small win to build that trust so that they therefore want more. So you want that light version to really be almost like addictive. They get it, they get that win, and now they want more. So we really want to be focusing on the light version being high value, not just sort of the onboarding part and giving them a little bit of information and then that's it. Now, if you want the rest, you need to go away and pay for it. No, you really want to make sure that it is a win and it's congruent and it makes sense. And the next step is something that they really actually want. So this is one of the basic strategies that we see people using. And then they add links to the free sections. So you can actually add links on the side. You've often got that side bit here, and you can add links here. Just below, you can add up to 3 links there where people can then click on that and they then go to your paid program. Otherwise, we can actually link in the different lessons here. As you see, you can link just below the videos themselves. So you can actually link and even mention it in the free training if you would like to take the next steps, or if you would like more training, click the link below to upgrade to the next part. So we want to make sure that we're making it obvious. We're not making them guess that there is an upgrade. I often see people being afraid to ask or make it obvious that they're actually selling something. So don't hide it. If the next logical step is them upgrading to the next stage, then you have to make it congruent and completely obvious to them. So don't hide links. Have them everywhere. Don't spam people, obviously. You want to give some value first, but you want to make it easy for them to upgrade and to see that there is an upgraded level. I also think that mini wins are really important. As people are in multiple groups now and they're engaging less, we need to find ways to get them to take action, because people are not activating as much. They're turning off notifications more, so they're harder to reach. And they're also just being dead. They're coming in and they're lurking even more than ever. So I think what I used to do to make this work was challenges. Now, there is an element of this being sort of fake engagement, but there is an element of faking it until you make it. And if you've heard of books like Atomic Habits and so on, they talk about how long it takes to actually form new habits and to gain momentum. Now, challenges are great for that, because we can make mini wins. We can make things bite size and then shift people along on a daily basis to then want more. Then they've had mini wins. Now they've had a taste of it. So a little bit like the light version, but they've now had a taste of it and they've taken mini actions. And you can actually pair these with putting posts below each daily task. So they have the little lesson, they have the little action they need to take, and then there's a post, and they can engage on that particular post, and therefore they get more invested. The more invested people get in the first initial stages, that's when you're going to make the sale. Momentum is everything. So most people who are going to buy within the first month. Probably even sooner. Most people are going to come through, consume, and decide if they're ready for the next step, and then upgrade. So I would say 80% of sales are probably within the first 6 weeks. I'm making that number up, but that's just kind of what I've noticed in my head when it comes to selling different things. But I think challenges are a great way of getting people invested so that they therefore want more. But mini ones, don't make them too long. Otherwise, if they don't make it to the end of it, they're still not going to buy. So we have to make it mini, bite size, still with the wins and congruent. So those are two great ways to get people invested, get them started, and then wanting to buy and upgrade to the next step with links below the different trainings. The next one is DMs. Now, yes, people are suspicious of DMs and everybody's worried that things are AI and things are automated. And yes, some of them will be. But I find that normally the people that complain about it are people that were potentially never going to be your customer anyways. They were people that were coming to have a look. They were just sort of window shopping, or they were competitors and they didn't like it because they weren't invested. They weren't your target people. So it's actually okay to automate some of this. And I'm a big fan of automating, a mixture of automating and personal. But personal, where possible, especially in the beginning, is really powerful. If you can give people a personalized DM welcome, then that is absolutely massive. Now, if you can partner that with a Loom video, Loom is where you can screen record your face on your computer and also maybe the screen, and you do a personal welcome for them, and then you just share the link and it shares the video. So it's quite quick to make these videos. That is really high value. That's a really high touch point. And that tends to get people invested. That makes them trust you. That makes them like you more. They're more likely to have a conversation with you. And that's where the magic happens. The magic happens when you have conversations. If you can't talk to people, then, and they don't activate and they don't come to the community, then they're never going to buy anyways. So you really want to try to fire up those conversations in the DMs. Personal as much as you can. And then by all means, start automating things from there. And you can also have your welcome post at the top, which has different information inside it, which then redirects people to the different courses, the different actions, and the upgrade to your program. So obviously, if people engage with you in the DMs, then after a while, you can assess if they're actually interested. You can suggest that they upgrade, or you can send a different Loom to them, or you can suggest what the next step is, an onboarding call. Now, onboarding calls, people are really into this, and they used to be really into this a year ago. People are a little bit more sensitive. They don't necessarily want to have a call these days, and it depends on what you're selling. This makes sense for high ticket. It doesn't make sense for low ticket. So if it's not financially viable, then you can't have an onboarding call with everyone. So you can maybe personalize it with Loom videos, do more sort of DMs and other ways, maybe tagging people in posts to welcome them. But onboarding calls are a great way to build that trust, because conversations and trust are how you bridge people from free to paid. So when they're ready for more, they will want to upgrade. So if you were doing, say, a high ticket, things like bottlenecks fixes, where you can have calls and say, I'll help you fix one bottleneck. Chances are they've got more, but if you help them with one problem, small win, remember the first win, then chances are they'll want more from you. And also reviews and audits, these things are really valuable. So again, you could do these with Loom videos, which I'm a massive fan of, if you don't want to have to get people to book in a call and wait and maybe not show up and so on. Loom videos can be a great option for doing that, for closing different types of offers. So really, I think for high ticket, obviously more touch points are a good part. But what people are also doing is the 2-call closing system. This, again, only for high ticket. Otherwise, it's not going to work. But basically, you have your onboarding, which is just a getting to know you session. Hey, how you doing? Have a look around. Here are the things. Zero selling. But then you could say, I mean, we've also got this. If you would like to know more about it, we can book in another call. So that way they know there's no pressure. And if they go, oh, yeah, that would be great. We'll go, okay, well, let's open up the calendar now and book in the next call. So on one call, you book the next call. And then that one they already know is a sales call. And they've agreed to it. So therefore, they're primed to talk about their business and move on to the next stage to see if it's a good fit. So this works really, really well, but it's obviously quite time intensive. But it's all about getting people to start the conversation in the first place. So mainly going to be DMs, tagging people in posts, and then also Loom videos, personalized touches to start with, and inside your programs with all of the links, getting them mini wins and getting them activated to then want the full version, which has to be the natural next congruent step. Now to 2 groups. What can we do in 2 groups that we couldn't really do in the freemium community. And I'm a massive fan of two groups. I think two groups are fantastic, but it depends what you're selling and it depends where the value is in the course that you create. Now, if you would like to know more about the different models and how to set up your community, what's going to work best for you and what you're actually doing, then I will link to our free community in the video description where we go through the community foundations, understanding the different models. And we've also got our community AI, which will take you through your niche and make sure that your niche angle's right. Going through your program and your offer and coming up with your idea to try and validate it for you and then recommending a model based on where you are. And obviously you get access to myself and other members in the community along with group calls that we sometimes do. So again, I will link to that in the video description. But what we can do in two groups is we can offer free trials. So you have the opportunity to offer free trials. Now, how that works is obviously you're going to say to people, if you would like a free trial, you can come through to our paid community to try the next step. This also works if you're going directly to paid, but inside free, it can be a great way because you already get them a taster, then it's a no-risk testing. Now, I generally, if I was doing two communities, wouldn't do this unless I was connecting it to something in the paid community, because then you can promote it and say that you're turning on the free trials sometimes. So this is a great way of generating a little bit of urgency and FOMO inside that's risk-free to them. So more people activate, and then you obviously do things in the community that make them want to stay for longer than the 7 days, which could be a challenge, 7-day challenge or 8-day challenge. So they go a day over that they then want to stay for. So however long, it could be even a longer challenge or your program could be longer, but they get the first part of it, they activate or they don't, they get invested or they don't, and they leave. But I think free trials and having that ability to take people from free en masse with free trials is a great way of doing it. You then have boot camps. I see this working really well, especially for annual payments or higher ticket. So if you said, okay, within our community, if you were doing high ticket, which I recommend for most people, but let's say your second community was monthly and annual, you could make it so that only people on annual who upgrade got access to a boot camp that maybe you did an 8-week boot camp that everybody on annual could join. And basically you did this every 3 months. So there was a month gap between each boot camp, but you could join as many as you wanted as an annual member, but you could get in and activate. And there was additional calls or stuff happening during that boot camp, which makes people want to upgrade at that moment. It creates urgency from the free to the paid. We need to create that tension and that urgency and potentially that FOMO to get people to activate. So remember what I was saying before is that most people don't really want to activate. They get comfortable not moving from free. So we want to make it an absolute no-brainer and a time-based opportunity where they can actually get more for their money. And basically, if they pay more, they get all of those additional things. Therefore, you make more money up front and they activate. It's similar for cohorts. So basically, cohorts are where you take a small group of people. I really am a fan of when you launch your communities doing small group cohorts. So you build your programs with these people. Again, I can talk about that more inside our free community. But I think it's a good way of having a small group, limited time. This can create FOMO and urgency again. If I say there's only 5 places, then chances are people are going to activate from the free to paid. If it's a timed window where my community is not paid community is not open all of the time and it's quite limited, it's a bit like wanting to go to a club, but it's guest list only and you have to be invited or you have to know someone to get on the guest list. And then everybody queuing at the door, probably not going to get in, sorry, unless there's some extra space and you're lucky. But otherwise, it's all of these people first. So it creates that sort of FOMO and that limited amount, which again activates people to upgrade from free to paid. And the benefit of all of these different strategies is that we can do promotions. And it's not always promotions just based on price. We can actually do promotions for all of these different things whenever we launch a cohort, whenever we have a bootcamp, whenever we do a challenge with a free trials. Any of these things, and there's many different variations we could do of this, we can actually promote. So we can promote if I was doing a bootcamp every 8 weeks, but every 3 months, for 8 weeks every 3 months. Then I could take a break, offer just value in the free, and then I could obviously be promoting every few months to try and get that injection of people coming into the paid community who are actually invested for long term and are also paying more. So there are many different paths to this. And this is just a few of them, but there are many different ways. The first thing I would say is that you really want to be investing in trust and value first. So especially depending on whatever traffic you're sending in. But trust and value first are the most important things to get people to activate. And then following a number of these different strategies, you will automatically get more people as long as your offer is good and congruent. And again, I will link to our free community in the video description to give you more help with that and analyzing your offer and breaking down your community as well. So I hope you enjoy that. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.